number 7 of my little podcast. And I'm really excited today because we've got a guest on the program. And this guest is a bit of a hero of mine. So no more has the title of my podcast been so correct, because those forgotten heroes of music are really important to, our history and what we become as musicians today. And I absolutely, this guy has a lot of responsibility and a lot of influence in my own playing through the years. So I'm not going to waste any time. The gentleman is called Pete Vanfield, and for those people that know and live in Northamptonshire and many other counties will know him as Flute. Flute, how is it going?
Absolutely fine, Glenn. Lovely to see you, mate. It's been so long.
It has been ages and ages. Where are you living these days?
Little village, South Wales, called Big Coig, which is near Port Talbot, I suppose.
Port Talbot.
Right in the middle of some mountain. Beautiful.
Nice. And that's Port Talbot. That's where the road goes over like the chimney pots. That's
right. Yeah.
You kind of come into ours. I remember doing some gigs. Now, the reason for the listener that Flute is really important and a bit massive influence to my playing is because being dragged up in the 1980s was the time when I was like 16, 17 years old, and I'd never really come across any musicians that really rocked my boat. But there used to be this pub, and it was called the King's Arms, and it was in Kettering in Northamptonshire. And if you play my last podcast, you'll get more of the story there. I walked into this pub and seen this young gentleman that you see now, that's with me today, and I was blown away by his drumming. And do you know what, Flute? There's one thing that I really need to ask you is, how did it all start for you?
Well, my family was all into guitars and stuff, and the only person missing in the band at the time was a drummer. So I pleaded with my dad to get me a drum kit, and I think he had a few beers down the pub and found somebody who had one in his shed, and he brought it home, and that's how it all started. And it was because nobody wanted to play the drums at the time, so I thought if I played the drums, I'm going to get some work.
That's how it happens. How old were you then?
14, 13, before that, just before I ended school, which was about 14, yeah.
14 years old.
I started playing with a guy at school, and the shadows type.
I suppose I couldn't really talk to you without mentioning the Coast to Coast thing and Alan Mills as well. And Alan's no longer with us either.
No, it's a shame.
And isn't it? And I mean, you got me to play with him once at Geddington Working Men's Club, and I think, and I actually, so for those that are listening and catching, there was a band called Coast to Coast that had a hit single with Do the Hucklebuck. And this was kind of, again, back to what I said to before. I was meeting all these people in, the King's Arms that had there was you that had the association. There was Jamie Ling.
Yes, Jamie.
Jamie, is he still around?
He's with a band called Retrobate, so still doing the rock and roll scene. He's still doing that.
I used to love that guy. I mean, there was the only reason I did it is because he always used to make me laugh, and he was never the guy. Now, he was associated with the Coast to Coast as well, wasn't he? So the Coast to Coast story is quite complicated, isn't it? Really, because it was Alan Mills's vocals, and there was a lot of things. So, I mean, you played with Coast to Coast as the band? Did you tour with the Coast to Coast or?
Yeah, it was. What actually happened? The drummer at the time, wasn't very well. This was back in the late 70s, and Jamie's an old friend of mine from Bobby Leroy days. And he said,
Bobby!
Stand in.
I forgot about Bobby. I forgot about Bobby.
Yeah. Well, Jamie used to sit on the side of the stage when we was gigging with Bobby, and he got a friend, and I think Bobby inspired him a lot. Bobby Leroy, what a fabulous guy he was.
Yeah.
And I ended up doing some network with Coast to Coast. And then we did a job in Corby, I think. We all fell out for some reason. I don't know what. It was something stupid anyhow. But at the time, the bass player, Bud, he sent a lot of records off, demos off to get a recording deal. And what the long and short of it is, he got the record deal, but the band was split up. So what he did, he formed a band, another Coast to Coast, with the original Hallam and people.
Yeah.
But they're the band that hit Top of the Pops with their girlfriend and everything else. And then, of course, that's when all things started, and people were starting bands that called themselves part of it in the early days. And it was a funny old thing. And in the end, in '84, I went back with Jamie, and we had a second version of Coast to Coast, where we recorded and we went on tour again in, I think it was '84.
Yeah.
We did 2 or 3 years with Davey Archer on guitar and Jamie, and it was a lovely tour. We did some Channel 4 TV shows and all that.
Yeah.
It was nothing to do with the original Coast to Coast, though it had Jamie in it. And then eventually I played with Alan Mills, who was doing his version of Coast to Coast. I think there was 3 or 4 different versions of the band, but I was involved with virtually every version of it at one point.
Well, I can't do what they did good getting you on drums. I actually, that band, the one you're talking, I think it was Dave Archer, Jamie Ling, you, of course. Who else was there?
There was a guy that's in America now, Dougie on bass.
Dougie, that was him.
Dougie. He was in a few good bands in them years, band singers and people like that, and Zoot, a band. And then there was a sax player, young sax player, who was a friend of Dougie. He lives in America now, so he lives in Hawaii. They all moved out there, but it was a good lineup. We had a decent manager, a decent truck, and everything else, and we had some gigs, but and of course we had to be a bit careful because of the different people's claiming the name Coast to Coast.
Sure, yeah.
So we did things a different way, if you like.
But I remember that again. I'm probably getting up sort of 17, 18 or whatever, 19 at that point. I remember you playing the Brit in the Burton Latimer, and it was upstairs, and just watching you do this incredible drum solo where they took the whole drum set to bits, and you're landed up lying on your back with the snare drum. It was just like,
that's right.
Yeah. I just remember all those bits, right? And it was just I don't know. You introduced me to that band, and I think I got up at some point when they were down at King's Arms or something. I knew I'd met the guys, and you know, and it was a good time because it's still going back to that King's Arms thing. It was the heroes. Yeah. You wanted I want to talk to you, and then you got me talking to them, and then I ended up playing, and it was just, I don't know, that camaraderie, if you like, between the musicians. There was no like, I'm better than you, you're crap, you know, you're not going to play with us. It's just, yeah, come and play. No. It was all, it was that seems like almost the, you know, there wasn't no standard. He's a good old boy, come on, we'll get him up, you know, and that's, and that's how.
A glass of whiskey, get him behind the kit.
That's it. Yeah. And that was a. Now the other thing, you know, with the Coast to Coast, I suppose, you know, it is a bit of a kind of a local thing that people all know about it, but it was a great record as well. You know, it was a great record to do that, and it's a shame some of the people are not around now. But I suppose, you know, if I don't know, it, you know, how's that make you? I know you say about kind of the way you know, you're lucky you hear the stories. I mean, how's that make you feel now? Because you've achieved a lot, you know, and like you say, you're getting older. How old did you say you were now?
69 this
year. Are you really 69, Flute? No, you can't be. That's impossible.
Yeah,
well, I suppose you must be, because I'm 55 this next year. I mean, it's getting up. I mean, how does that make you feel? Because, and the reason I ask this question is because I know I'm getting older now, and I feel to myself that I've not really got nothing to prove. I'm just going to enjoy myself. I'm going to play. You know, I mean, you know, you've got more tours under your belt than I have. And do you sit there? I mean, I know you say you're kind of addicted to the drums and stuff, and you still think about it this day. Do you feel like, yeah, I did a good job?
Yeah, you're funny enough. You know, I was in bed sitting there, and I got all these lovely comments on Facebook about things I've recently done, and I was thinking, did I ever get to my goal? And I did, and I thought, actually, I achieved my goal around about that time in the 80s, late 80s. I'm thinking, some of the people I meet now, and including yourself, that remember me at that time and what I did, I think I actually achieved more than I ever wanted to in the late 80s. So I haven't got nothing to prove anymore, you know. And I still teach. There's a little youth club here in Wales that I've been involved with a couple of years, but I started going down there free of charge, just getting kids to sprinkle knobs around it and play with guitars and just hit the drums, you know, because just to get them some sort of interest in whether it's electronics or engineering or music or anything else. And I'm still doing it. I'll still do that to the day I die. I'm still trying to get children or even adults to get involved. You know, I had a late student when I was in Ketchum. I think he was 45 at the time. Just started playing drums. That was right. And he went on to be a marvelous drummer, and he still is. And it's just I've got no. You know, if people want to learn a drum kit, I say to them, what do you want to play? What's your favourite music? What's inspired you to play drums? And the first thing I normally do is teach them that one song, or how basic it is, so they can go out and their favourite song will come on and they can play a drum. And that, to me, inspires them. You know, I don't get too involved, as you do with the technicalities of the music reading, but all I do and try and do is inspire kids. And looking back to the 80s, there were so many kids now that are younger than me that are, and I love their playing, so I love your playing.
Man.
And it just, to me, that was my goal. I achieved, you know, I did some great shows, I did some great teaching with people, and I did some great things. So yeah, I'm happy with how it went, and I'm still happy that people invite me to play, because I'm not a confident player. And every time I go to a gig, no matter if it's a little club down the road or where it's a massive auditorium, I'm nervous. Got me CD on my head. They've sent me a set list too. God, I'll never remember that. God, I'll never remember that. But all I want to do is make that band sound the best I can. That's all I want to do.
And make people dance. Flute.
Yeah.
I'm blown away. I get to talk to you. I really am. It's almost like I'm starstruck. Flute, it's been amazing. Thank you very much for your insight into education and all those memories that have come flooding back this afternoon from the 80s.
You're very welcome. In fact, I was singing of a band the other day. Buddy used to, from Burton Asby, used to whistle a song. I think it was Ghost Riders in the Sky. At the time I met you. You remember that guy?
Yeah, I think I do.
Yeah. Fabulous. And I'll go back to them days and think how happy I was there. I still am. You know, I'm on my own now. But I've watched you over the years and your education, your dedication, and your patience you've spent over these years, which is, you know, and I just love how you've become and how, you know, how you've done with the drums and the education side and the drumming. Of course, just I'm a good drummer. But I followed that. Something I could never have done, you know. But and that's.
Flute. I don't know. Thank you. I mean, that's the kindest words ever. I said it in my last one. I sent you the link to my last podcast. The time we did the clinic in Kettering, and you know, and for those that haven't, you can rewind and listen to it. But I did a drum clinic with at MLC Academy, and a guy from France had come over. Anyway, I won't bore you with all the details, but a drum clinic, for those that don't know, is kind of a masterclass for the drummer. The drummer educates the audience, usually a bunch of drummers, but you know, and you tell them what you do and how you do it, how you learn to, and in walks Flute when I'm doing mine. The biggest hero I had in my life, and he walks and watches me advise him. I was pretty nervous that night because you were there. And then you started asking questions. But no, it's been a pleasure. They're very kind words, Flute. Thank you very much. So thank you so much for taking the time to do this, and it's a pleasure to talk to you. So we'll see you soon. All right.
Yes,
thank you, Flute. Take care. Bye-bye, mate. Bye-bye.
Bye, mate. Bye.
Jitterbop, 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 we're gonna rock a jitterbop, 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 we're gonna rock and she's my jitterbop, baby, jitterbop, jitterbop, my jitterbop, baby, jitterbop, jitterbop.